Hey peeps, this is Ferny, your resident psychic medium and spiritual teacher. And you're listening to Ferny Unfiltered, where we dive into topics that enlighten, inform, and entertain the soul. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, a truly gifted intuitive who can psychically speak with animals. So stick around because you won't want to miss it. Mitchell Osborn is a psychic medium who uses his abilities as a tarot card reader, animal communicator, and mindfulness transformation coach. He's been studying all things metaphysical since 1999 and has presented on the main stage at Reader's Studio in New York. He also teaches other metaphysical classes online and in the Orlando, Florida area. He uses modalities such as EFT tapping, EMT eye movement therapy, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and hypnosis in his mindfulness and transformation sessions with his clients. He has been a fitness manager, personal trainer, mindfulness facilitator, and group fitness instructor for one of the largest medical groups in the United States. He has been assisting clients in finding wellness for more than 31 years and believes empowering and encouraging balance across the body, mind, spirit connection are equally important. He made it a personal quest to understand his mediumistic, intuitive, and psychic abilities, as well as his spirituality, which led him through many years of steady practice and under the guidance of other professional intuitives, mediums, and metaphysically minded teachers from Castagada, Florida, and the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. He is honored now to make himself available to the public as an intuitive messenger so that other seekers and students have the opportunity to communicate with spirit. So please help me in welcoming Mitchell Osborne to my podcast. Hey, boy, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It feels like it's been forever since we've had a chance to talk, and I miss you so much. And I like it's been on my mind to like connect with you. Like in the last few months, I'm like, I need to connect with Mitch. I need to connect with Mitch. And I'm just like, okay, okay. But then I've been in this like kick where I not really wanted to talk with people, and all of my friends and all the people that I normally would connect with on a regular basis. It's like I'm like, hey everybody, I need some Ferny time. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm coming back into okay everybody. I got to catch up with everybody. So how have you been? How is business?
I am well. And it's funny because as you're talking, I was thinking we've known each other a long time,
Hmm.
and we physically have been in each other's presence one time.
Once,
And
yeah.
you're one of the online friends that I consider, even before we met the physical in person. You're one of the
Mm.
people online that I really consider like a good friend, and that I know, even though we've just texted back and forth and been
Mm-hmm.
on things. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I've been doing well. Business is good for me.
Mm.
And I don't know if you want me to share my what I do all the way around, but my corporate day job, as I like to call it. I've been in health and fitness for 32 years now.
Mm.
I've been since I was 21, so that do the
Mm-hmm.
math. I'm 53. I've been teaching group fitness exercises. I was a personal trainer. Now I manage group exercise instructors. So that's my full-time job, and I absolutely love it. I love connecting with people. And yeah, 1999, just everything started shifting and changing, and then I've been doing the work that you do, and we have a lot of the same things that we do. I'm a big tarot card person. I know that you don't use a lot of that, and I'm a big animal communicator, but we both do the psychic medium stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's been business has been good between vacations, so that's the that's the
Yeah, well, I think
challenge.
that's one thing I appreciate about you is that you take these like really thorough like vacations where you go to some place
2 weeks.
different and you spend
Yeah,
quite a bit of time there. You're not like just rushing there and then rushing back. And that's like a problem with most people. They'll be gone for 5 days and they're rushing during their whole vacation. So when they come back, they're like more exhausted than when they first
yeah.
left. You seem to always have a good time whenever you're on vacation. And I love seeing the pictures that you guys share. I don't think you share enough pictures when you're on a trip, when you're on vacation. But I think that's because you're like mentally checked out and you're like, I'm not going to be dealing with people or dealing with social media. I'm going to be here, present, and enjoying the experience. And I really enjoy that about you because it makes
Yeah.
me want to be the same way.
And that and Wi-Fi on a cruise ship is
Mm,
expensive, so we're not going to do it.
right.
But yeah, but no, my husband Fabian, he's a we when we go, we've been on Holland America several times, which is really an old cruise. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
the average age is 68. So, because
Mm,
we are usually in bed by 10 o'clock at night,
good.
we do not party. I don't drink. It's been 27 years. No drugs, nothing. Fabian will have wine, but we're usually up at 6 a.m. out the door by
Mm,
7, 8 o'clock, and
mm.
we're wherever we are on the go. Most days, if we're sightseeing like a city, we are getting between 15 and 25,000 steps a day. So that's
Wow.
between like 8 and 12, 14 miles.
Yeah.
Uh, in Boston recently, we literally did 12 and a half miles of walking. So we go, go,
Wow.
go, go, go.
Yeah.
But then I get to eat whatever I want when I'm on vacation.
True. Yeah.
Because
I
I
think
burn out.
that has helped me because, like, in the last few months, I started basing my entire diet around veganism. So a majority of my diet is vegan now. And in the
Well,
last 2 months since I did that, and what kicked it off is I went to the dentist and they were like, "You have sleep apnea and your blood pressure is super high. You need to go to the hospital or the doctor's like now." And I'm like, "Okay." So I was like, "Okay." So yeah, I was like, "What the hell?" So I came back and I was like, "Well, this is just a push." So I'm like, "Might as well use it." So I just switched everything over, and it's so much easier now to be a vegan than like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I
yeah,
had first done it, because there's so many options now, and you can just go to the
yeah,
store, just load your cart up, and you've got so many delicious things you can eat now. You don't have to think about it. And I think for me, it's
yeah,
the less thinking about it that I can do, the better. So I switched over. I'm not 100% vegan, but a majority of my diet is vegan. And so since I started that, it's been like what, 2 months. I've lost 30 pounds, and then I've also my blood pressure went from like high to now it's perfect, and every time I go in and check it, they're like, it's perfect, it's perfect. I'm like, good.
oh, that's
So
good.
that's been the big change for me, and I think I'm having way more energy now as well. So I'm waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what to do with myself, because it's like, what do I have all this energy, I don't know what to do with myself. So the first time I met Mitch, because people don't know how I met you. So I met you through Jamie. Jamie's another psychic that we both know, and I was following her on like social media or whatever, and I saw her and I thought, oh, she's pretty cool. And then you two were doing like a lot of shows back then. You were doing like a weekly radio program
On Blog
online.
Talk Radio.
Yes, yes. And I listened to you both and I'm like, oh, that guy sounds pretty cool. And then I looked you up and I was like, oh, he's really cute. I was like, oh my. So I was like, well, I've got to get in there. So I started to kind of like communicate and just like saying hi or whatever, just because I appreciated what you both were doing. And I loved the bouncing back and forth that y'all were doing with each other. And I appreciated the work that you were doing. And at that time, it was still earlier in my own development. So I saw you guys as like inspirational for me. And you guys helped to essentially inspire me and to give me a push of like, you know what, like you can do this and you can do it well, and look at these people, they're doing it really well. So after that, it just lit a fire under my ass, and then I started to connect more with you, and then me and you became closer, and Jamie just,
Yeah,
me and her didn't stay as close, but you and I stayed
because you weren't
closer.
straight.
I know. Well, and sometimes it's really hard to relate to a female, when you've got a penis. So it's really
Yeah.
hard.
Well, the funny thing was is on Jamie is an amazing woman. She is a
Hmm.
firecracker. She's such a
Hmm.
powerful psychic and
Yeah.
medium. And but it was funny because on those shows I was the straight guy. I really was. She was
Yeah.
the loose cannon that was
Right.
telling
She
people
was the queen.
go
She
ahead.
was
She was like go have monkey sex
right.
and stuff like
Right.
that. And I was like, well, I can see what Jamie means. She's like, really
Right.
go out and just start to sow your oats and have fun. I mean,
Hmm.
and I would say monkey sex, but it was just so easy for me just to be
Mm.
the natural straight guy for that show.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a blast. I mean, I think we did like 2.5 to 3 years, just like
Wow.
every Sunday night, and we came back and did every other Sunday and stuff like that because we had Evan on there with us until
Hmm.
he passed away.
Hmm.
So it was just a wild ride, and with Danny and with Sandy,
Hmm.
and Brenna. So yeah, it was another one of my boot camps.
Mm.
I'll never forget. In like 2000. From 19 December 1999 through 2007, I was reading. You can probably see all my books way back there, and
Hmm.
behind me in the video. But I was reading so many books, and I remember reading John Edward book. And he said, yeah, my boot camp training was at the flea markets on Long Island. I remember thinking, be careful what you
Mm-hmm.
ask, Spirit, because you're going to get
Mm-hmm.
it. I said, where's my boot camps? Well, first boot camp was reading cards at Universal Studios Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that was powerful because here are people from all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
young and old, and they're paying like $20 for 5 minutes. And
Right.
I'm barely getting a commission off of that. And I had literally, like, the Blues Brothers was on the other side of the wall, so I could barely hear myself. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just like, it taught me laser like focus. And then jumping on with Jamie and just, client, I mean, not client, but, caller after caller after caller, we would do,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we did 2 hour shows. We circled back around and tried to get us, I'm not doing 2 hours. It's just, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I could do an hour, maybe a 90 minutes, but it
Right.
was just really my boot camp. And then as an improviser, like, I had a theater for 10 years of improv.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another place where it was really my boot camp, not so much as a psychic and medium, but as really to be free thinking,
Mm-hmm.
free flowing, get out of your own way.
Right.
And, it's funny because you read pretty quick, like I do. And no offense to slow readers, but because I'm a quick reader, when
Mm-hmm.
someone's like, well, I feel like I'm like, come on, girl.
Yeah,
Come on,
let's get it together. So spit it out. Spit it out. Yeah.
because people always go, don't you do, I only do, 30-minute sessions online and
Right.
45-minute in my house. And I was like, can I do an hour? I said, we probably don't
Mm-mm.
need an hour. I really don't need an
Most,
hour with you.
yeah,
Because after
yeah.
30 minutes, I'm like, what else do you need to know? They're like, literally 90% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
I said, we got about 5 more minutes. Is there anything else you want to ask? Because most of the time I did all the talking.
Right,
And they're like, no, I think you covered everything. And then I feel bad that, there's 5 more minutes that
right,
been paid for.
right. Yeah, I have the same issue. I have the same issue because I people don't need that much time with me. And usually at the 20-minute mark, most people are done and they have no more questions because I've
Yeah.
covered everything and then they've gotten their questions in. So after that, I'm just like, where are you? And then once we get to the 25, and then now you've got the talkers, you've got the people who go way over the 30 minutes and they're like trying to pull it and pull it. I'm like, I gotta go. I've got other clients, sweetheart.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I appreciate just spit it out. Just say what you're going to say. Even if you think it sounds absolutely nuts, just spit it out. Because if you are like that I feel like that to me represents I'm contradicting myself or I'm fighting myself on what I'm picking up on or
Yeah.
on what I'm sensing. And so I'm like, no, if I don't give myself a chance to fight myself on it and just spit it out, like, having mouth diarrhea, it's going to come out as, in its purest form. And that's why
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you as well. So, well,
Because
you,
I will watch back some of my old videos when I did
yeah,
my weekly forecast, and literally
yeah.
it's so funny because I stop myself and I go, why am I smiling at myself? Why am I like entertained? And part of it is
Mm,
I like you, I work hard
mm,
on my personal energy, my
mm-hmm,
personal health, my physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, intellectual health
mm-hmm,
and well-being. I work on it to keep it as high as possible. And so when I watch myself back, it kind of tickles me watching myself
mm,
because I feel separate from that person that was speaking a lot of times,
yeah,
which that makes me realize I was in a different vibration at that
right,
point because it's not me. Uh,
right,
and it's kind of neat to watch it back sometimes.
yeah. So you have been doing animal communication for how long now?
So I've been doing everything professional since
Mm,
2009. And I didn't really do animal communication at that point. They were
mm,
there. People would say something about their animals and stuff like that. But when I moved in with Fabian, my husband, when I started dating him in 2007, he had Sheldon, who's still with us. He's 18 years old.
mm,
We've said goodbye to two Pomeranians and an American Shorthair cat in our 12-year, almost 13-year relationship. We have Bartolomeo and Sebastian. So early on, I was, practicing like in classes and stuff when I first started meeting him, and nobody ever did animal communication stuff. And I was just like, I know what they want. I know what they
mm,
need. I was
mm,
connecting with them. You know, I'm one of those people that I usually approach an animal not wanting something from them. So their energy was very open to me because most people are trying to heal their inner child.
right,
Love
right,
me. kiss me, show me that you care for me. I'm like, I told people so many times, please don't work out your childhood problems on my cat. He's a particular cat. Just leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't touch him. Don't pet him. He barely comes to me in 2 years.
Mm.
But so I remember in a class, and I was on. I think I was either I was teaching or taking it, but I think it was about tarot cards. Probably 10 years ago. And I said, oh my God, one day I can imagine my business card is going to say pet psychic because I know what
Mm.
they say. And sure
Yeah.
enough, it's about 40% of my business.
Yeah.
And I've studied what I would call all the greats: Joan Renquet, um, Gurney, Carol Gurney,
Mm-hmm.
Tellington Jones. I can't remember. Linda Tellington Jones. She was the big horse person.
Mm.
Um, Danielle McKinnon is a newer one. The other ones
Mm-hmm.
are like 20 and 30 years old.
Yeah.
Penelope Smith has been around for like 20, 30 years. And, so I've studied, mostly books with them, a few
Mm.
classes and videos online because none of them are near me. Every time they come near me, I try to go see them. And I was about ready to book one that was coming to Central Florida, and
Mm.
they just didn't get enough people.
Wow.
But yeah, so those have been my teachers in that. And, it's one of those things. I'm sure you've done this too. You study, 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 study. And every
Mm.
time you pick up a new book, you're like, I know this. This is what
Yes.
I do. Why
Yes.
do I need to read another freaking
Right.
book?
Right.
Spirit has thumped me in the head so many times and said, just go do it already.
Yes.
It's good that you're a
Mm.
student of life in your practice and your work, but you know this, so
Mm-hmm.
just go out there and start doing it. So I jumped in, and it's interesting how I work.
Mm. Well, so
So,
what triggered you to even go down this path? Like, did you have an experience with animals that you can kind of think back to that really, like, I think triggered this for you or started you on this path?
yes and no. Growing up, we had like our family business, we had guard dogs.
Mm.
And I had such empathy for them because they lived in a little cage and they were let
Mm.
out at night. And I couldn't get past that. Also, the other thing, which makes me chuckle, but like I had two brothers, older and younger, but none
Mm.
of my brothers and none of my parents would bury our dead. Anytime one of our animals died, I was the one that had to go bury it, which I think is
Oh.
hysterical in the sense of we're talking death and we're talking
Yeah.
animals and we're,
Right.
beyond the grave. And if you've ever seen Pet Cemetery, I always joke. I said, we had a pet cemetery way out behind our family business, and I would
Mm.
just line them up against the fence. But I'll never forget taking our toy poodle in, for the final moments of his life. And the freaky thing is you have to sign a piece of paper that says it's okay for them to kill your animal. I mean, it's
Mm.
euthanization, and there's a polite way to say it, but I'll never forget signing the paper and just like tears starting coming to my eyes. And I did not go in there with him. Where
Mm-hmm.
now we've been with every animal. We held them. We said goodbye to them. We brought them home. We buried them in our backyards,
Yeah.
which is against the law. But we've done it. And
What? It's
yeah,
against the law
yeah.
to bury a dog or an animal in,
You're not supposed to bury them in your.
like it just in Florida where you are, or like
I
everywhere?
I think it might be just state by state, but
Mm.
in our state, you're not really supposed to. Nobody is going to enforce it,
Right.
especially what it is. But and I could be totally wrong, but the vets have said something like, yeah, you're not supposed to.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I just felt the connection, and more people started asking about it, and
Mm.
I was, I'm sure you've done this with a certain component of your life. I was afraid to advertise it because then I have to produce.
Right.
But when it came up, I did it. And I had a friend, she was a teacher and then became a friend, but she took us to a local zoo. And
Mm.
we had a day of, uh, we would sit in a room and we walked the zoo, we connected, and we came back and we debriefed about what we heard, what we felt. And then she brought in an owl and she brought in a lizard, the people at the thing. And when that lizard came in, each one of us would step up in front of him about 3 to 4 feet in front of him and just try to connect. And everybody that stepped up, the lizard was like hissing at him. I got up there and it started purring.
What?
And I'll never forget going, well, I've always really been attracted to reptiles. I mean, I love
Right.
lizards, I love snakes, turtles, amphibious things,
Mm-hmm.
things that like dragonflies that were born in the water and then live on, then fly, or frogs that were born in the water and then,
Mm-hmm.
and then come out. But it was really bizarre. And of course, I'm in Florida, so we got snakes and gators and turtles everywhere.
Right.
So it was, it was a really kind of powerful moment. And I've also, from an alien place, I doubt we're going to go there today, but I'm very connected to alien lizard folk. So I feel like there's a
Reptilians, the reptilians you talking
yes, very much so,
about?
very much so. So I feel like there's a big reptilian connection to me.
Mm,
But yeah, it was a powerful moment. And it's one of those things where I don't say this often about anything that I do, but if you walk up with your cell phone and you go, "Here's my baby," I'm
mm,
immediately going to go, "Do you want me to connect?" Because I can already hear them.
right.
It is loud and clear. Literally on my drive home tonight, somebody texted me and said, "Hey, my baby's crying because my husband's going to be going out of the country for a couple weeks." And I said, "Send me a picture." So my phone's
Mm,
propped up, and I'm looking over at the animal, and I'm like, "This ain't about your dog. This is about you. You're upset because your
mm,
husband's leaving." And I press the microphone so I can drive and I talk, and
right.
I'm dictating back to her.
Right.
And of course she says, "You're right. It's not about her. We're having difficulties.
Oh.
And I'm taking care of parents and all this kind of stuff." And so it was one of those things where it's loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I shied away from it in the beginning, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I finally really fully embraced it. So
Yeah.
much so that I'm taking that to the next level, if you will. So.
I see that a lot where the animals are reacting to their parents. I there was this lady that we used to have come in at Starbucks back in years ago, and she always came in with her little dog in a stroller. I mean, this big old massive stroller. I mean, way bigger than she needed, but it was a full blown size
Yeah,
like stroller and this little beady dog inside the stroller, his little
yeah,
terrier. And she would walk in, come in every single day, and I mean that was her baby. And so when she got a job out of town, she had to fly in and out every single week, so she spent most of her week away. And her husband took over taking care of the dog, and he didn't have the patience or even the desire to want to coddle or to baby the dog the way she had. And the dog ended up getting cancer within a very short period of time and started going through chemotherapy. So it was
wow,
really traumatic. Yeah, the dog lived, it survived, thank God. But it was, you could tell that it was her energy doing this because she was so distraught over not being there for the dog and how
yeah.
her husband was having to take care of it. And she didn't like traveling away for work. So all of that kind of culminated and
Yeah.
manifested into this cancer for the dog.
And cancer typically represents, kind of a self-hatred, because it's
Yeah.
eating you up inside.
In humans, I
Yeah,
mean, humans as well. Yeah. I was
yeah.
just telling somebody
Well,
this yesterday.
and,
Yeah.
and my belief, absolutely, they're either mirroring or role
Hmm.
modeling. 90% of the time, they're mirroring what's going on, or they're showing you what's going on.
Right.
Many times someone will call up, or I got a client, and usually by the end of my session,
Yeah.
because all I get from the client is a picture of the animal, and I
Mm.
show up at my computer about 10 minutes before our session,
Hmm.
and I have an entire clipboard, and on this clipboard are all the questions I asked the animal, and then I have about a page of information that when I call them, I say, "I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes. Anything that makes sense, let me know. If I don't address it by the time we get to the end of our conversation, you'll have plenty of time to ask me questions."
Hmm.
And I go through it, and usually by the end of it, it's about the human, not the animal, because
Right.
the animal got the human there.
Right.
The animal knows how to live in the moment. It's our
Right.
energy that screws them up.
Yeah.
Or at least they're working with us to help us all evolve,
Yeah.
and they're evolving themselves. And part of their involvement is helping us.
So, in communicating with animals, have you noticed a difference in the communication style with animals versus when you're communicating with a spirit? Because you do both. You're also a spirit communicator as well. But do you notice any major differences in the communication style with each?
Yeah. So and my joke is, so cats and dogs are most of the business, and then the horses are kind of the third runner up. So when I'm talking to a bigger dog like a lab,
Mm.
typically it's just a dog feel,
Mm-hmm.
and I am often talking to what I call a translator
Mm.
or their higher self. And the translator may be like just a spirit guide or something, or spirit
Mm-hmm.
communicating about the dog. If it's like a Chihuahua, Dachshund, Pomeranian, smaller dogs, I'm usually talking to the dog.
Right. Huh.
It's usually their energy that I'm feeling. A cat, no, it's just another world. You have cats, they are more alien, they are more off planet, they are more able to live between the two worlds or three
Mm,
worlds or parallel universes. Almost every cat, I'm talking right to them and their energy. They often communicate very intelligently.
mhm.
When I'm talking to like a bigger dog, sometimes they're just like doop doo doop doo like a dog, you know? And that's not that
Mhm,
they're more evolved or less evolved by size, but that's
mhm,
typically what's been. Now, when I'm talking to a horse, it's almost always this regal feeling, but they're
mm,
extremely earth energy. Where cats are like off planet energy, horses are very much earth energy.
mm.
And I approach them with reverence because it's like, for me, it's almost like indigenous people,
Right.
that feel of, just of, owning the land, knowing the land, working with the land. Um, but a lot of times it's their energy, but every once in a while it's like I would call a translator or just a higher self or spirit, communicating what the questions I'm asking.
Yeah.
Um,
That well, I was gonna say that's an experience I've had myself where when because I don't do a lot of animal communicating, it's usually spirit communication. But when someone is wanting to connect with an animal, I'm not so much connecting with the animal themselves directly. I mean, I may get bits and pieces, but usually a human spirit will step in and communicate on behalf of the animal to help me
yeah,
understand the information. And so I've noticed that happening with my communication with animals as well, where there's usually a representative. It's the same thing with babies. Babies are very similar to animal energy, I've noticed. So when a baby has passed and they were pretty young, usually the baby won't be communicating the information so much as the human that can help to relay that information in a way that I can understand so that there's more depth to the experience besides just the presence that comes with a child or with an animal.
yeah. And
Mm,
it's interesting because, like, when you said babies, that made me think of, like, anytime I've dealt with like what I would call a baby energy or a child that didn't live long or
mm-hmm,
miscarriage type energy, they usually come in almost cherub like. So it's almost like a lower vibration of angelic energy
mm-hmm,
for me. And the energy of the animals, I forgot where I was going to go with this, but like the energy of the animals, it definitely is very clear most of the time for
mm-hmm,
me. And it's not so muddled. Oh, I know what I was going to say. A lot of times, what you just said made me think of, a lot of times I feel like the animal energy may come across as a human, because I do believe, and I know this is one of the things we're going to talk about, I do believe the animals can come in from, they were human before, they can come back. A lot of times it's what I call like an overlay. Like every once in a while, I'll look at it like a lab, and I'll say, did your grandfather meet your child? And they'll say, no, they were never in human form together. I said, because I'm getting a lot of grandfather energy with the
mm-hmm,
eyes of this lab. So I feel like your grandfather's kind of overlaying within the dog so he can be physically connected to your son who's like 3 years old. And it's like, because they can come in, because animals don't usually live long, where we humans, we
right,
often can live many years. Where if an energy being that's been human before wants to come in just for a short period of time,
right,
they can come as an animal and only stay 8, 10, 12, 15, 16 years.
right.
Or they can just overlay the energy if they've got kind of an animal that's willing to kind of connect.
Yeah,
um, and like when one Pomeranian passed away, 3 years later, we got a stray that was 9 years old. I felt the other Pomeranian's energy overlaying,
yeah,
but only for a short period of time.
yeah.
And for anybody listening to this, if you have an animal and it crosses over, and then you get another animal and they start having the same issues, you're probably not getting the message that the first animal was trying to get you to understand, because it's like they hand the
Mm,
baton off because
yeah,
you didn't get it before their lifetime. Their
yeah.
lifetime. And that was one of the things I felt like Lovita, she passed on to Tiffany, was some of the stuff, because she had some of the same issues. And it wasn't
Mm.
just breed to breed, but it was like that's the same kind of personality.
So do you think it's them helping us to because I have this belief that some animals are fragments or aspects of our own souls and they're reflecting and representing parts of ourselves through the interaction and engagement with each other. I mean, it's just like I believe with all of us, we're all part of the same God force and we bounce off of each other those lessons and those experiences
Yeah.
to develop and to grow and to evolve. Same thing with animals. Now, do you think that animals do they like so you're saying do you think that they reincarnate and that sometimes the lesson that is being experienced with one animal like it'll come up again in another animal or
Yeah, I do. In other words, I think they're probably part of our soul family. And in hypnotherapy and hypnosis, that we talk about, the soul group. And if you can
Mhm,
think of like source God as the all-encompassing energy,
mhm,
then if you think of like below it, like a thought bubble below,
mhm,
here's your soul family. Within that soul family is, a certain amount of energy that, you and I could be from the same soul family.
mhm,
And there's been stories of people who knew that they were like a white woman, 30 years old, had a regression, and she knew she was a 60-year-old black man living in Chicago, and she knew his name and everything, and she felt she was that same soul, but it was the same time. She looked him
mhm,
up, she could find him. So
mm.
that thought is that it's like there's this energy, and it's almost like a finger coming down to her and then another finger coming down to him,
Got
but they go
it.
back to the same energy, which is why I personally think a lot of people will have a regression to a past life and they go, oh, I was this famous person, but yet somebody else said they were the famous person as well.
Right.
So they could
Right.
all be from the same soul family
Right.
and recognize that energy.
Right.
And I think when you meet someone, and you kind of look at them, you go, have we met before? Because I just feel like I know your energy. It's like you're
Mhm.
probably soul family recognizing each other.
Right.
And I think the animals do that. I think they come in and out. So there could be aspects of like a great grandfather of yours that's in one of your cats, just
Mm.
kind of connecting with you because he never knew you, or he wanted to be incarnation with you, but you just didn't quite make it together.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I think they can.
So what is the most extraordinary experience you've ever had with communicating with animals? One of
Um,
those memorable moments where you're like, "Holy shit, like this was insane," this experience.
so I gotta tell you, for me, the most memorable ones are, and most of the time they're about lost animals, and a lot of
Mm.
I don't. If somebody emails me and says, I've got a lost animal, I immediately say, send me a picture, let me tap in quick, and then we'll see if we need a session.
Mhm.
Because that's one of those things where it's like, I think Pam talks about this, or one of Pam Coronado, one of our people. She's
Mhm.
like, she missing children and things like that. She doesn't charge for it. She just helps.
Right.
I can't remember what the subject matter was, but it's not that I don't charge for it. But I want to tap in quick and
Right.
see if I can't, because a lot of times people aren't going to understand. And I'll usually say, what's going on in the house, because I'm feeling like something happened there. And she says, oh, my husband and I are, we're going through a divorce. I said, well, would you want to be in that household? No, that's
Right.
why your animal left. So you
Wow.
need to change the energy in the house.
Right.
Or I may say, I feel like your cat is off on an adventure. And I'll say, or I feel like your cat's looking for somebody. Did your son just go off to college or something? She go, oh yeah, he just got married and they moved to
Mm.
across the, well, did you tell your cat that your son, who he's been with for 13 years, is now living
Right.
on the other side of the country? You,
Wow.
you got to communicate this to them. So a lot of times it's about them coming back. That has
Right.
been for me the most memorable one. Um, and then also just like if the cat's like spraying in the house or fighting with another animal or something like that, and I'll just coach them on how to energetically work with them, not as a behavioralist, because I'm not a
Mhm.
behavioralist, but
Mhm.
how to energetically work with them. And they'll email me like a week later and say, oh my God, she hasn't done that since then. They're absolutely, the two cats are now laying beside each other and they love each other and they're happy. And I'm like, well, that's because you didn't keep feeding it to them. Because because in a nutshell, if you've got two cats in your house and one
Mm.
day they got in a fight, and then the next day you see them walking towards each other and you go, oh my gosh, I hope they don't get in a fight like they
Right.
did yesterday. The
Right.
energy you just sent them was,
Activated.
here, do this again,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's been kind of the amazing things
Well,
for me.
that's I mean that's LOA right there. That's a law of attraction stuff. Where the moment
Yeah,
it's what I tell people. Like when you think about a relationship, if you're wanting a very good, healthy relationship, but the first thing you think about when I say relationship is your ex or how much pain you were from your last relationship or whatever, that's where you are. You
yeah,
activate that energy. So that's the first thing you're sending out. So the moment you're thinking about your ideal relationship, you're actually not asking for an ideal relationship. You're reactivating this old energy. So the
yeah.
next situation you run into is going to have a lot of that old energy coming up within
Or
this
when
new
when are
person.
they going to call me?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
always go Tuesday.
Right.
Next
Right.
Tuesday? I don't know. Just a Tuesday.
Mm,
Like,
mm-mm.
just and I love how you said it, because a lot of times I will say, someone who's pining over a certain person, I said,
Mm-hmm.
so would you be okay if the universe brought you something even better than that? Well,
Mm,
yeah, but what about I'm like, you're not there yet. Because
Yeah.
if you're not willing to have something even better than
Yeah.
what you're clawing after, then you're still stuck in that cycle,
Mm.
and that's one of the reasons why I want to get into like the hypnosis and the EMT, which is eye movement therapy and tapping and all that stuff, because I wanted to be able to help people to move beyond that.
Right.
As a psychic and a medium, we can talk about it, and you do Reiki, correct?
I
Yeah.
used to. I don't do it anymore, but I used to. Yeah.
But you understand the components of
Right.
energetic healing and clearing and
Right.
stuff like that, and we can do so much, but if they keep reaching back for it and
Right.
calling back in,
Right.
nothing we
Yeah.
do, it's for naught.
Yeah, I was just telling a lady that yesterday that because she was asking me if I did Reiki. I said, no, I don't do it anymore. But I said, I can send you to someone who can clear your energy and help you to shift things around, except it's like taking a bath. If I bathe you and then you go outside, start playing in the mud again, whose damn fault is that? Because is it
Yep,
my fault or is it your fault? Don't blame me
yep,
because you're over there rolling around in shit. It's
yep,
your fault. So fix your shit. So
yep.
that's usually the case. So are
I
there,
cleaned you. I cleaned you up. I gave you some boots,
right,
and I showed you the path to avoid the
right,
mud. But you went right back this way. What's up with
right.
that?
And people
Well, we've all
love,
been we've
yeah.
all been there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's probably because we were taught how to make mud pies as kids, So
Yes.
that's probably why.
Yep.
Are there some animals that are easier to communicate or talk to than others?
Um, yeah, yes, and it's personality, just like clients.
Mm,
But like I said, cats are really very clear for me, and it could be because I just have a great affinity for them.
right.
Um, cats are not always willing to talk, but when they are talking, it's very clear and very
Mm,
distinct. It feels like a high frequency, high pitch, not
mm,
like sound. But
mm,
dogs, it feels a little more thick, like a human. And sometimes you may not, you and I may communicate something to you, and then you may tomorrow think back to what I said, and you may not
mm,
fully get it exactly how I said it because it went through human ears and human
right.
body. And that's kind of what dogs are like. The dogs are very close to human energy, I think. Um, reptiles and things like that. It's not that they don't have a lot to say.
Mm,
Sometimes it's just like, yep, nope. What's your day like? And they'll just send me a picture of it laying in the sun versus, oh,
mm,
I just hang out in the sun and I just eat this and I eat that. But it's like minimal and when you think about a reptile, cold-blooded. So if
mm,
it's not warm, they're not going to move. And if it is cold, they don't move much.
right.
Just like animal of few words, they don't make a lot of sounds,
Right.
So,
Mm.
so yeah.
So are animals like generally happy, just being, or are some animals sad by nature? Like, does it change from breed to species, or as far as the happiness equation?
That's a really good question. It's making me think because I've never thought about that. I it, Animals, and I think you'll understand it this way. When I'm talking to an animal, whether they're alive, sitting next to me, or crossed over, the communication feels spirit.
Mm,
So I think you probably work almost identical to me when you're talking to someone who's passed on. A lot of times they'll communicate their energy as a human, how they felt as a human. But
mm,
when the person says, "But how are they now?" You're probably saying the same thing I'm saying. Oh, they're fine. They're in the
yeah,
other world.
yeah,
They're happy. They're free of the body. It's like they get to jump and scream and yell and fly and
right.
travel the universe. It's like that for all animals, even when they're like kind of like sitting next to me alive.
Mm,
It's almost like I'm connecting to that level of them
yeah,
because they don't have the vocal cords that we have and they don't communicate like we communicate.
yeah.
Um, and typically it's heart to heart. So when you think of
Mm.
if you communicate it only through your heart, that's kind of how it feels for animals, and that's the best way to communicate with them is from heart to heart, from your
I
heart
think
chakra to heart
I think
chakra.
that's why I've been, I the one thing that really just aside from my blood pressure and from it being an alternative to, getting my health right, I was feeling so guilty and I was feeling so much pain eating meat, and it was painful to eat it even though I
Yeah,
love meat. I mean,
yeah,
Hispanic by nature, I love my tacos and everything, but
yeah.
it was so painful. And I think now I don't have that, like, overshadowing of pain that
Yeah.
comes along when you eat meat and you eat foods that are, taken from animals that are tortured and going through all these processes and facilities. And so for
Yeah.
me, it was a big thing about that. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It hurts too much, and I
Yeah.
can't cope with it anymore.
Yeah.
So, mm,
And I take because I still do eat meat, just probably like most every lunch is
mhm,
no meat whatsoever, except tuna maybe twice a week, and it's usually a gigantic raw salad with beans.
mhm,
But I take a page out of the kind of like the indigenous people of the Americas, and that is,
your
honoring the
prayers.
life,
Mm,
honoring what was given, and even acknowledging probably some of the pain and the suffering that they probably went through.
yeah.
Um, because when I read this recently in a book, and I was just like, it made me laugh out loud because, like, I'm even, I believe, an ear of corn has,
Mhm,
energy and spirit, just like a
mhm,
tree, just like a cat, just like a horse, goat, like a human. And when I connected to like an ear of corn kind of a thing, it was like, it's okay that you eat me, because when you get put in the ground, I'm going to be eating you again. And we're all going to it's just going to be the circle of
right.
life,
Right.
and even the trees kind of a thing, it's one of those where they shade us, we cut it down, we create a house. And I read this in a book literally just the other day. And she was like, do you know how proud a tree that has been cut to allow you to live in it is almost like a mom might be proud of their child walking across the stage graduating.
Mm,
In other words, almost like I gave my life to get to this point. I'm
mhm,
looking at your house, and I see a lot of wood and wood beams, and I'm thinking
mhm,
those trees, they grew to a point, and then they said, all right, I'm good. Let me sacrifice, my being to be a
mhm,
roof over someone's head.
yeah.
So again, it's that big circle of life. Now, the challenge I think for us is to make sure that we honor their life and their death. You know, if I trim trees outside, I usually say to the tree, listen, I need to take this branch down because it's like it's in my way, or can I
Mhm,
do this? Are you okay with that? And sometimes I'll get pushback, and I'm like, please, because you'll grow higher up if I take this
right.
branch down or whatever. So I honor that. I mean, I was like, I honor before I cut them. And you can get as rich as, like, before you mow the grass, right? All
Right.
right, I'm going to stimulate your growth. But yeah, so it is interesting. And I think in a perfect world we could probably all live side by side. And there is a point where as humans we still live in the structure that we need to eat something
Right.
for sustenance. But I do believe there are people that can just live on water alone. I think they've trained their bodies where that's all that they need to survive.
Right.
Or I think I forgot what they call the people who just breathe. They're like
Breathinarians. Breathinarians.
breatharians, yeah.
Yes,
And
because I looked into that when I was a
I
vegan the first
believe
time.
it's possible.
Hmm.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Just
saw
like I
this
believe
one.
people can transmute into an animal,
Yeah.
become an animal, and shapeshift.
Yeah, there was that one woman where she said all she did was breathe. She didn't eat, and I was like, "What?" And the bitch looked great. I mean, she looked really good, and I was like, "I don't know, girl.
I
You
know.
you had to eat something. There's just too much looseness on you, you know." So,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I know.
I've got a few questions from people
Go
on
for
Facebook.
it.
So the first question is by Sarah, and she asks, "Is there something we can do daily to ease their tension or anxiety when we leave home so they don't feel abandoned or sad?"
Yes, what I and just like you would do with a person,
Mm-hmm.
love you, going off to work. It's an important role.
Yeah.
I'll be back at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the day I'll think about you. The
Mm-hmm.
challenge is to not do the human thing and go, oh my God, you poor baby, you're gonna be
Right.
alone all day long. Let me tell you what. There are a lot of humans that would cherish a day by themselves with nobody around.
Right.
And animals are pretty cool with that. So if your animal is exhibiting like separation anxiety, it's probably the human. So
Mm.
just, and you said relieve. What was our question? To relieve
Yeah.
anxiety?
Something we can do daily to ease their tension and anxiety when we leave home for, or so they don't feel abandoned or sad.
Just let them know you're coming back, and then throughout the day, when you think of them in a positive way. Hey,
Mm,
like every time you go to the bathroom, just have a moment, envision them, see a smile on your face, see them feeling good and
mhm.
having a good day. And avoid doing, oh my gosh, they're by themselves, they're this, they're that. Animals don't have the emotional, they don't do emotions like we do. And
Right,
the example I always say is, if a dog got hit by a car, it doesn't lay there on the side of the road going, what did I do to deserve this? Does
right.
that person hate me? And they don't limp away thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be the same. The dog just goes, ow, crap, that hurt. And then they walk
Right,
on with their life.
right.
And they don't look back. Where we continue to hold on to and replay the emotions and we
Yeah,
imprint it on us.
yeah.
And I do believe some animals can do that, but more importantly, I think we humans continue to support it. How many
Mhm,
times have you ever heard someone say, oh, that's so and so, he doesn't like men, or he was
mm,
abused by tall men with dark hair, so just leave him alone? You're
yeah,
continuing to support something that may have happened one time, or you may have even conjured up just because you needed to find a reason why he bit that man that came into your house.
yeah.
But and then even if you see animals on the side of the road that are abandoned or whatever, just ask, am I part of this animal's karma? Do I need to step in? If you get a yes, step in. If you get a no, wish the animal love and light, and that they'll find their path and who they're
Mhm,
supposed to be helping that day.
mhm.
Same thing, in Florida, we got lots of roadkill here. So when I see an animal that is passed on the side of the road, mostly possums, armadillos, raccoons,
Right.
squirrels, I always just say, thank you, little warrior, for being
Mm,
here. Whatever lesson you have taught me or the person that, did this to you, thank you for that lesson. I
yeah,
don't pity them
yeah,
because that's negative, dense energy. I hold their vibration up and send them on, some light to their next journey.
yeah. So Paula um, asks, what is a common communication that animals want to share?
Um, Thank you. It really is.
Mm,
Thank you. Because I get so many that were, rescued, and they're
mm,
almost all, when they're alive, it's like, when they're alive, it's more of, I'm concerned about my human. It's all about them. What's going on? There, a lot of times when I do live readings like this, I like, okay, your animal's going to out you. You are not taking care of yourself. You are not speaking up. Someone is walking all over you. And when
mhm,
they're crossed over, they're usually like, thank you for the care you gave me. Thank you
mhm,
for rescuing me. Thank you for, all the efforts. And a lot of times before they give them a chance to speak, I've already touched on last moments of their life,
mhm.
which most humans are going to say, did I do everything I could? Are they okay with how I handled the end of their life? And usually I try to say what the animal says about that before the human does, so they can hear it and understand it from a real fresh place.
Yeah. So Samantha asks, are the dogs able to know their owner's feelings? Which obviously, I mean, you're saying that they
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very
Now,
much.
do they have like thought patterns in their brains that are similar to what humans are, or is it more like emotional energy that they are picking up on?
I feel like we're sensing and seeing them in their animal state more than anything. If
Mm-hmm.
we pause, we take a breath, and I think this is from Alice in Wonderland. We become curiouser and curiouser. That's when we start getting messages, and that's when we start seeing the higher vibration of them. Like right now, I'm looking at Bart, my cat, and he's asleep. Oh, he just popped his head up because I said his name, and he's probably sensing like my
Mm,
husband out the office door. So he's probably thinking, what's going on out there? What's happening? Now, if I pull up to the higher level,
right.
he's kind of tapping in, and he's like, he's glad he's sitting next to me.
Mm,
I feel like he's ready to go up and watch TV on the couch. I mean, he does a little bit of the pattern and the routine, and he's probably. I'm laughing because he's like, I'm just waiting for you to get out of that chair because I like that chair better than the chair you got.
oh,
He likes this chair much better.
right.
But yeah, so I don't feel like they go through the emotions we go through. I do believe they have them. I believe they have pretty much the same ones as we do. That's just not, they live more like a spirit being does, where they're outside of the body, which is where the emotions are. I
Mm,
just, the emotions I think are a lot of connection to the humans and reflections of the humans.
yeah. Hmm. Kristen asks, which animals typically want to communicate with us and which ones don't want to be bothered?
Um, a lot of birds seem like they don't really want to be bothered. And I'm talking birds within houses.
Mm-hmm.
Birds outside of homes, so many birds are messengers. I mean, just think of almost every, woo-woo movie, Harry Potter, owls, the messenger, crows, messenger, so they really are messengers. But I think they're kind of like, internet email. It's like, there's your message, and they take off.
Right.
They drop it and go. So, and then there's critters like, like ants and crickets and stuff like that, which they don't live well with us. They're not like domesticated.
Right.
And most people are going to stomp them, squash them, and kill them. So I think that they have a broader message. Like ants, when I look at ants, I see a broad message of, working together as a unit. I don't necessarily hear individual messages from ants. If I had one, I probably would, but I see the broad message. Just like I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, dogs, the broad message for dogs is that they're here still showing us how little we care for life because of the number of dogs that are euthanized every day. And these dogs come in as warriors to show us how we're still not valuing life and the way we handle it. And I think it's Gandhi or someone that says you can tell a nation or a culture their values and things, and by the way they treat their animals.
Right.
So as a country, we still got a little ways to go because we're killing them left and right. But if I get real close as a human, it really hurts. But if I move into what I call the higher spiritual level, I can see the mass appeal of showing us just how much we still have to learn from a loving kindness. Caring for human life, because we treat humans the same way we're treating the animals. We'll run a bitch down in the road.
Right, right.
You're in my lane. Get out of the way. We'll get arrested for that.
I think that's the thing that I appreciate most about animals is that they're not duplicitous. They're just pure and themselves, just 100% of the time. Humans are duplicitous. So, one day you love people, the next day you want to just run every bitch over that you see.
Yeah.
But it's this back and forth with humans versus with animals. You just love them. Even the animals who are suffering or in pain or who are, attacking, that their reason for doing it is coming from a pure place of, I want to protect myself. Or, I need to defend myself. And so it's coming from a pure place. It's not this weird, like, I'm not sure what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, but I'm still going to do something that doesn't make any sense for me, and which is what people tend to do anyways. So,
and often the humans have an ulterior motive. That's the other thing.
Right.
When they get attacked or bitten or something like that, or they're in their territory. Literally. If someone was in my house in the middle of the night, they might get shot. They might get stabbed. They might get thrown in jail. You're in my house. Uninvited. And that's how animals often will look at us as we're walking, by the lake and the snake bites us. That's their habitat, and it's often that.
So what do you want your legacy to be when it comes to your work with animals? Like, what do you want? What is your point? What is the impact you're wanting to have in the world with this work?
Bottom line, I think, is that they are here to help us live, grow, evolve, and learn. And if we just stop, every animal that really gets your attention, like, you may be, driving down the road or walking through a park and a bird flies by and you don't think about it. But all of a sudden, a bird flies by and it's an unusual bird and it lands near you and it stops you and you're drawn to it. And you're like, well, this is unusual. Versus just a regular bird that just flew by and you just looked at it and you walked on. Right. It's like, stop for a moment. Google, if it's an ibis, Google animal totem ibis. What do you have? First, I say, what does an ibis mean to you? What does it look like? How does it operate? And that's probably the message you need. The best one was a mosquito the other day. I posted that. And I said, first of all, what does a mosquito do? Well, it's annoying. It bites you, sucks your blood, and then often it will go to somebody else and suck their blood and transfer something. So it may be, transferring disease. So where are you transferring disease? Where are you annoying people, or who is annoying you? Right. Gossip would be a great connection to a mosquito because it sips a little blood over here and then it goes over here and spreads the gossip to somebody else. Right. So what is that animal? And like I said, then go hit spirit, animal totem, and then, mosquito, and just see what it is online and let that message resonate with you, because I think that's the best way we can honor their life. If it's a butterfly, I think most of them live a day.
Mm-hmm.
What better way to honor that metamorphosis and change and transformation, than understanding the message they brought to you.
Right.
And same with your dog or your cat when it comes to the end of their life. If you feel they're coming to the end of their life and slowing down, first thing, connect to their energy as much as you can. So when they've crossed, you know how that energy feels.
Mm.
And then second, just honor the life that they had for you, the what they taught you. Even if they were the biggest pain in the butt,
Right.
they probably taught you patience, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is.
So we're pretty much at the end of our time together. Is there anything you want people to know about you or your work, or something you've got coming up that you want them to be aware of?
So you can find me at mitchellosborn.com. I'm kind of a social media whore, so I'm all over the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Find me there. I do have, if you go to my website, you can find some classes that I've taught that are on demand, and you can purchase those. Animal communication, just psychic development, tarot card, even the Norman card, learning all that stuff. And I don't know when this will be aired, but as of right now, on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on my Facebook page, I'm doing Talking Animals with Mitchell.
Mm.
And I just do a little bit about animal communication. And then if you post in the Facebook Live a picture and just some tidbits, you can read the information there and find out what to post. I've been doing about 3 to 4 communications on Sunday nights. So hopefully that'll still be going on.
Well, thank you so much for being a part
Thank
of this.
you.
I love you and I
I love
appreciate
you
you.
too,
And it has been
man.
too long. Maybe our next podcast together will not be as long.
Yeah.
But I love you so much, and thank you for being here with me.
Thank you. The love is equal, and I truly appreciate you and all that you do for
Oh.
this globe.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. For more information about Mitchell, his work, or to book a session with him, you can do so by visiting his website at www.mitchellosborn.com. That's MITCHELLOSBORN.com. See you next time, and as always, have a namaste.